sometimes it's an explicit quid pro quo. Duke Cunningham was a Republican congressman who went to jail because he sold his house for above market value to somebody who he then got an earmark for. And sometimes it's just a sort of unseemly buying the favor and getting in somebody's good favor. That second category is where Donald Trump clearly is in my mind. With Hunter, that's the best case scenario of his artwork. So again, I don't know if the Democrats have a clean line of attack, but as a journalist who dislikes corruption, I think Trump is opening himself up to the fact that he could be swayed. His emotions could be swayed to befriend governments that don't deserve his friendship, such as, again, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, or China.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with senior columnist Tim Carney. And Tim, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released a report this week detailing some of the foreign money that was spent at Trump businesses. Tell us what that report found.
So the big picture is not something new, something we didn't know. It's something that we in the Examiner were writing on when Trump took office. The inherent conflict of interest of he owns a bunch of hotels that he goes out of the way to attract foreign clientele, and some of those will be foreign governments. So at least $7.8 million over his 4 years came in from foreign governments. So this could be the Embassy of Malaysia rents a big suite in the old post office, a hotel he had there, and that's $4,000 a night or something like that. China is the biggest spender on Trump's properties, and that's largely because in Trump Tower, the biggest client there, and again, we wrote about this the day Trump took office, is the Industrial Commercial Bank of China, a state-owned bank that's the largest bank in the world. So every month, Trump is basically pocketing a check from a Chinese state-owned bank that subsidizes the whole industrial policy of China. And so this itself, I think the Democrats are right. This poses a conflict of interest, and it creates a problem.
So what would the solution for that be? I mean, what safeguards were in place then, and what, in your mind, would need to be done in the event of a second Trump term if, his business still exists, if it hasn't been decimated by the lawfare at that point?
What we said after Trump's first election and inauguration was that he should divest of his businesses. He should hand something over to somebody who will sell these companies, which of course creates its own conflict because then, whoever's buying the business from him is handing him money.
Right.
But the ongoing income from, again, the Industrial Commercial Bank of China could influence Trump, especially because we know how much his assessment of other people is, oh, well, he was nice to Trump or she was mean to Trump.
Very transactional.
And so if somebody's a really good tenant of Trump Tower, that will affect his attitude towards that entity. And when those entities are state-owned businesses and banks and governments, I think it does influence the man. Theoretically, he could say, oh, well, I don't care who's paying me. But we know he cares. He talks about it all the time.
Right.
So selling them all once and for all creates a one-time sort of issue of conflict of interest, but it gets rid of the ongoing conflict of interest. That would hurt him, but we expect public servants to make a sacrifice, especially one who's already super rich.
So this is not me engaging in whataboutism, but just looking at the realities of the political landscape in 2024. Is this a way for Democrats to attack him credibly when Joe Biden does sort of have his own potential business-related conflicts of interest that he hasn't atoned for? I mean, is this something that Joe Biden can make a clean attack on Donald Trump on the campaign trail?
It's telling that it's Jamie Raskin on the House
Right.
House committee that's going after him. Raskin is a lifelong activist, attorney, and maybe they think he has a cleaner line of attack on this. And Hunter Biden selling art. Art is famously a money laundering
Subjectively
thing.
valued.
And it's very subjective value. But it goes back in Washington for years of selling, owning, renting out properties as a way for special interests to buy favor with the people in power. And I think it matters. Sometimes it's an explicit quid pro quo. Duke Cunningham was a Republican congressman who went to jail because he sold his house for above market value to somebody who he then got an earmark for. And sometimes it's just a sort of unseemly buying the favor and getting in somebody's good favor. That second category is where Donald Trump clearly is in my mind. With Hunter, that's the best case scenario of his artwork. So again, I don't know if the Democrats have a clean line of attack, but as a journalist who dislikes corruption, I think Trump is opening himself up to the fact that he could be swayed. His emotions could be swayed to befriend governments that don't deserve his friendship, such as, again, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, or China.
Right, China very famously uses investments to build those relationships. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more writing from Tim and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.